Mom and Dad, do you want to ensure that your child has a good education but feel like you don't know where to start? Then this approach may be right for you. If you give me the next few minutes, I'm going to give you a tried and true framework for ensuring that your child has the best education possible. This is a framework that's used by hundreds of schools across the country and is changing the lives of tens of thousands of students nationwide every year, and your child could be one of them. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jonathan Gray. I'm the headmaster of Veritas Classical Academy, and I've worked with hundreds of students in some of the nation's top classical charter schools, and I've seen firsthand the power of a classical education in changing the hearts and minds of students. So if you give me the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the basics of classical education and help you see why parents across the country are choosing schools like Veritas to provide this education to their children. So if you look at the websites and mission statements of most schools, you'll find statement after statement talking about college and career readiness. And that's nothing surprising or strange, because college and career readiness are the goal that most schools these days aim towards. And that's because college and career readiness are good things. The problem is that focusing on college and career readiness only misses what's been the point of education for millennia. Philosophers and teachers for thousands of years have agreed that the purpose of education is not to get people jobs. The purpose of education is to make people good. Confucius, Plato, Averroes, everybody in between, they all agree on this. Education is to form people who are intellectually, morally, and aesthetically alive, not to craft economic producers. So, how does classical education achieve this time-honored goal? Let's dive in and take a look. First, let's talk about the intellect. At a classical school, we want our students to actually know things, not just appear to know them. So, we use time-honored methods of instruction for making sure that students are actually learning and retaining real facts and information. This allows them to have a library, a catalog of real things in their mind that they can then draw on later to help synthesize and form ideas and connections across subjects. This gives them the freedom that comes from actually knowing things, not having to look everything up, and not missing the connections that exist between things in the real world. Next, let's talk about aesthetics. Education at a classical school is an education in lasting things. In the modern world, we're surrounded by things that don't last. Posts that we like and then forget. Songs we listen to once, twice, movies we binge. These things are easy to like. They don't really require anything of us, and they're easily disposed of once we're done with them. But some things aren't like that. Some things have lasted for hundreds, even thousands of years, snatched from fires, floods, invasions, insurrections. They've been passed down, handed down, protected from generation to generation, and they seem indestructible. This is strange. Why are some things like that and not others? And these things aren't like us. They demand something of us. They're different. They don't give up their treasures easily. And so it takes time to sit with them to see, why is it that people in the past risked life, danger, flood, fire to hand these things down? And what we find is, as we sit with these things, we begin to realize what made other people risk those things to make sure that these things were handed down. And we also find that we become like the things that we love. If we love things that are disposable and shallow, we become shallow people. If we love things that have lasted, then some of that permanence becomes part of us as well. Last, let's talk about the moral piece. For as excellent as intellectual and aesthetic virtue are, they're nothing without moral virtue. I'm sure we all know someone who's extremely intelligent, but lacks moral character. They have a mind that can grasp complex concepts easily, but for some reason, they can't get a grip on their own desires, to the detriment of themselves and everyone else around them. And when we reflect on this, we realize that smart is not the same thing as good. And if we only train towards smart, then we create crafty villains, not heroes, not citizens, not neighbors that any of us would want to have. And that's why classical schools are passionately committed to moral education. At classical schools, we talk about virtues, not values, because virtues are unchanging across time, culture, and space. Courage, justice, wisdom, moderation, these form the foundation for the moral life. And the moral life is not an easy life. It's not one that lets you rest on your laurels. As John Henry Newman famously said, to live is to change, and to be perfect, to be excellent, is to have changed often. The moral life is a life of fruitful and worthy challenge that provides the soil where intellectual and aesthetic virtue can bloom. There's more to be said about each of these topics, but this, in short, is the goal of a classical education. It's a high goal, which means that those other goals like jobs and career opportunities and internships and all of those things will come also. But if we mistake those for the true end goal of education, we've forgotten what it means to be educated. If you'd like to see an education like this in action, please click the link in the description and sign up for a tour of Veritas Classical Academy. I'd love to show you around and help you see what each of these things looks like in a thriving classical school.